The excavation update for Marauders just dropped, and I want to go through the patch notes really quick. Before we start off, there'll be a link in the description down below if you want to go and read the entirety of the patch notes for yourselves, as there are a lot of changes in this update, and some sections I might go through more quickly than others. But without further ado, let's get stuck right into this. So the little preamble here. Good day, fellow Marauders. Welcome to another large update. This time we've taken a focus on adding more layers to our current mechanics to push the intense hardcore aspect of the game, but we made sure to include a healthy amount of quality of life additions kindly requested by our outstanding community, in parentheses, easily number 1, so sucking up to us a little bit, and I'm just kidding. This included everything ranging from a new boss to a brand new matchmaking system. The new map, the Mining Frigate, takes front and center of our update, and the team can't wait to see your reaction. If you enjoy a rush of fear and adrenaline, we can't say we didn't warn you. This is easily our most immersive raid location yet. This update marks a huge milestone for the team and allows us to start delivering updates faster and more efficiently. We will discuss this more in an upcoming dev blog in the next few weeks, but until then, here are the patch notes in full. So starting off with the main addition, so what makes up the bulk of this update, so region select matchmaking. Players can now select which region they want to matchmake into from their best 2 regions based on ping. Depending on feedback, we may increase this to 3, however, we feel this added flexibility with the removal of automatic ping selected matchmaking, resulting in shorter queue times. It should also provide a much more stable experience throughout the entire matchmaking process. The Mining Frigate raid area, so a full rework of our first ever map made internally during our pre-production phase. This is a breach-only location and features a frigate latching onto a valuable asteroid, using its drill equipment to smash through the core. A haunting mix of rock and steel. Good luck surviving this labyrinth of death. Escape jump gates. Okay, so this is a pretty important change here. The jump gates used to extract from space in your ship or pod are now dynamic. They are no longer present at the start of the match, and you will either have to wait until they arrive or reach the gate controls within any raid location to call them in immediately. Controls for this are also included in the merchant ship and the capital ship. Currently set to automatically arrive 15 minutes into a raid, you can trigger an early arrival by visiting any control room. Once again, we will listen to feedback and adjust if necessary. However, internally we feel this has created new and interesting combat scenarios, giving all players a much more rewarding experience. So now if you load into a match and you don't like the map, well, you're shit out of luck. You're gonna have to go into a raid location to call in the jump gate, or just play it out for 15 minutes and then decide to extract. The Warden. A new boss has been added to the penal colony, taking harbor in the safe rooms during the lockdown triggered by the prisoner riots. As is tradition, you can also unlock the Warden's cosmetic if you can tally enough kills. Beware, he is wearing the strongest helmet in Marauders history. So what are you waiting for? Can you find a way to unleash the Warden and his crew of deadly guards? The SPP-1, the first in a new weapon type, the SPP-1 is a dart-firing pistol. In Marauders, these weapons will cause high damage and naturally be silent, but suffer from low ammo capacity, making them the ultimate risk/reward tool. We look forward to adding more to this devastating new category. The MAS 44 is the United Allies' new high-powered standard issue rifle, and the first 10-round 7.62 ammo weapon. Much like its SVT-40 or Johnson counterpart, what it makes up for being semi-automatic, it clearly makes up for in stopping power. Keep an eye out for it the next time you visit the colony cruiser. Weapon attachments. Lots of new weapon attachments have been added to the game, with the addition of a new feature that allows spawning of these attachments on any weapon within the vault. Will you get lucky and score the new deadly Bren drum mag and the spiderweb sights? That sounds absolutely awesome for the Bren gun. I can't wait to see all of the attachments that have been added in this update. Healing rework. Healing is now visually replicated with animation and sounds being able to be seen and heard by other players. We've also made it so you have to be more tactical when you choose to heal. You can no longer shoot, sprint, jump, reload, or interact with items while healing, but you can cancel out of healing at any time by left-clicking. We added new animations for using aspirin and morphine and have a lot more planned. We will be expanding this mechanic to include health and stamina burn, pain and fatigue to heal over time in the coming weeks. Bleeding can now also occur based on walking into barbed wire and the type of weapon you are shot with. The lower the caliber, the less chance of a bleed. However, don't fret, bandages and first aid kits can stop it in its tracks. Bleeding cannot kill the player, only bring it down to a very low level. Unique interactions. We have continued our push for adding unique and interesting interactions in Marauders. With this update, we have added a jukebox, gramophone, steam trap, small elevator, cash registers, and our personal favorite, the slot machine. Risk your hard-earned silver coin for a chance to take home a bag full of gold. We have also added more secrets, but those you'll have to find out for yourself. Next, we have everything that is new. So a lot of this was already covered in the main editions, but we're just going to go through it real quick. Hit registration failsafe. Server will backtrack client hit locations to ensure it's registered. Raiders can deploy mines at the start of the raid, which is very interesting in the asteroid mine map, spaceport, terraformer, and mining frigate. Jukebox, gramophone, obviously, as I said earlier, steam pipe trap, the SPP-1 pistol, the MAS 44 rifle, more secrets. ADS animation no longer interrupted when firing, except for Trench Gun, Well Rod, and the Mosin. Attachments spawning on weapons and containers, as we had previously discussed. A small elevator added to the Penal Colony Central Tower. Mining Frigate, which is the new map. Single POI. There's now a chance a single dockable raid location can spawn in the middle of space alongside multiple breach-only locations. So now we won't only get the double raids, but you now have a chance to get a single POI plus breach-only locations. Additional raid location combination terraformer with the Navy Outpost or Asteroid Mine. New chocolate spice item. New heavy riot helmet. New dart ammo type. Warden boss with shield and shotgun crew. 2 additional airlocks for the colony cruiser. The escape gates that we talked about earlier now arrive 15 minutes after the beginning of the raid or can be triggered by any control panel. Attachments for the Bren SVT-40, Kraza, M1 Para, M16, and Viper MK1. M712 suppressor now works on PO8 Luger. Attachments now show on pickup meshes, dropping weapons, so you'll see the attachments physically on the weapon, as far as I can tell from this little mention. Slot machine, as we previously discussed. Breach damage. Players are now damaged more if breaching a frigate that scales with the ship's health. Cash register, previously discussed. All locations now have a space gate control panel / room for calling the escape gate. Security office added to Navy Outpost. Security office added to merchant ship. Enemy flak turret can now spawn in space. Warden ride helmet item, level 13 armor, so that is the absolute highest level armor you can get in the game for your head. Thompson Special, a suppressed variant of the Thompson, which sounds interesting. Personally not a fan of the Thompson, but I'll definitely give this one a go. Welded vault door added inside the Redacted. So there's a new welded vault door inside some mystery raid. 3 raid missions for the mining frigate. All weapons can now cause bleeding. Bleeding does not kill the player, stops at 10% health. Bleeding does 3 damage per second and lasts 60 seconds. Uzi metal stock re-added. All loot from lootables now has a varying durability damage and ammo except for vault containers. So now you might find armor that's like pretty much completely destroyed in a container that nobody has looted yet, which is interesting and adds a little bit more randomness to the raids. New cinematic HUD UI option under the gameplay section of the options menu turns off the entire HUD as a player. In a ship and as a pod, you can still access the inventory menu and exit menu. So this will make it a lot easier to take nice screenshots. Moving on to art. Hut structures added to central terraformer farms, 2 storage and 1 medical. Leather basketball, warden appearance. Scrap and flash bomb has a fuse effect to make them easier to track when thrown. Suppressor for MP40 has been improved. Johnson rifle magwell, riot helmets, various types. Collision updates on various meshes. Steelworker appearance, Steel Series partnership DLC. So that's a specific code you get from the Steel Series website for Marauders. I think they're out of stock now, if I'm not mistaken, but I'll leave a link in the description down below if you want to check to see if they still have some available for you to collect. Moving on to balancing changes, I hope you guys have a snack because there are a lot of balancing changes in this update, so we're going to go through them as quickly and as efficiently as I can. Head hitbox scale is now more accurate to prevent false positive on hit registrations for both the player and NPCs. Players now take around 65 damage when breaching a full health ship and scales down, so you now have a penalty for breaching a ship that's at full health. You should probably damage it beforehand. However, if the player is 15 health or under, it won't apply any damage. Colony token has been removed from UA Marines and placed on dead colonist. Flak projectiles now have a 1 second fuse time, reducing the flak turret range by 30% and has 6 shots before reloading, down from 8. However, reloads 1 second faster. 25mm dual turret now has 8 ammo instead of 6. 75mm turret now has 3 ammo instead of 1 and deals 120 damage per shot, but has a 3-second reload time. doubled the amount of items that can spawn in a rare space salvage container, doubled the amount of containers in all vaults, which is interesting. M16 fire rate reduced from 700 RPM to 600 RPM. All 0 to hero missions no longer require a specific raid, except for ship impoundment. For example, the Commando Major mission now accepts any commandos, which is absolutely fantastic because sometimes you can just hit a wall that you never find the raid or the location you need to complete the quest, and it can get really frustrating. 40mm ammo spawn rate reduced by 35%. China Lake damage has been reduced by 45%. China Lake firing speed has been decreased by 200%. M50 Reezing now deals 30 damage, down from 34. There is no longer a short delay after a reload where you can't fire. Junk Scrap can now spawn in common lootables. M50 Suppressor now does 1 extra damage instead of 2. M50 Compensator no longer deals damage, only recoil reduction. M50 Reezing no longer has an automatic fire mode, single fire only. There is a new uncommon loot pool created for the green container, locker, and loose spawns. This has less high tier items, reserving the best gear for the vault. All weapons now have varying degrees of reduced walking speed whilst ADS. Pistols have 60%, SMGs have 50%, rifles have 40%, some exceptions like the MG42 and China Lake have 35%. The Viper MK1 is the fastest with 65%. Barbed wire causes bleeding. All consumables except for morphine, meth, aspirin, and spice have had their healing amount reduced by 50%, but healing time doubled. Heal the same amount, but takes twice as long, which is interesting. Going to be a lot more tactical to heal now, as opposed to just running around a corner, healing real quick, and then going back into combat. Shotgun and knives have around 50% chance to cause bleeding. Pistols and SMGs are around 20%, and rifles are 10%. The SPP-1 has a 35% chance to cause bleeding. Melee NPCs now lunge forward more when trying to stab. Aspirin now unlocks instead of the bandage at level 6. Kingdom Alliance Trader. Brody Helmet for the Kingdom Alliance Trader now unlocks at level 3. All traders now sell bandages at level 0, which is amazing. This is a very much needed change because it just sucks having to buy stuff to scrap it to make bandages. They should just be available at all time at any trader, and now it is the case. Bandages, small and large first aid kits have had their value increase by around 50% to 100%. Breacher's Scout has had its cost increased by around 35%. The Terminator and 12 gauge ammo for starting gear has been replaced with 4 clobs and stacks of 9mm ammo. The amount of sack bags has been reduced by 1. The Johnson recoil is now closer to the value set. This was being overly reduced by a bug. Default single turret damage is reduced by 12%. Nuclear material and gold bullion have had their spawn chance reduced by 50%, but their value increased by over 300% to be more rare and valuable. Bandage recipe now requires disinfectant and synthetic scrap to craft, which is interesting. Small first aid now requires fabric instead of synthetic scrap, and 2 disinfectant to craft, so much more expensive to craft first aid kits now, or at least the small ones. The bar requires an additional toolkit to craft. The bar extended mag now requires a reinforced metal sheet. The Uzi wooden stock does less vertical recoil control, but horizontal remains the same to allow the metal stock to provide the strongest vertical recoil control. Loose pistol spawns do not have the random durability damage and ammo amount. Interact distance for dead colonists has been shortened to 200 units, down from 300. Nickel ore has a 50% spawn chance. Toolboxes don't affect the durability of spawning items such as the blowtorch. Rust bucket / starter frigate, starter gear, Luger and pouch rig not affected by random durability, so that's great. You won't just pick up a pistol that has like 1 bullet left to fire before it breaks. Increase the chance of large asteroids to spawn in space by around 20%. And finally, the SVT-40 scope zoom adjusted to be in line with the M16 scope. Whew, that was a lot of balancing changes, but yeah, they have been hard at work with this update. AI. NPCs no longer have their vision blocked by railings, glass, or fences. They will now attempt to shoot the player through these objects. NPCs spend less time calculating moves and spend less time looking for the player the wrong direction. This, however, can still occur, just more rare. This does result in them generally being more deadly, which is very interesting, making the AI now actual threats as opposed to just cannon fodder. Moving on to UI, main menu, new matchmaking, region select UI. That allows you to select your region. New UI in top right of the HUD to tell you when, if the escape gate has arrived. In the main menu, you can now remove all attachments or specific attachments from a weapon via the right click menu instead of having to go in the weapon menu, which is a nice quality of life addition. If bleeding, you get an icon in the bottom right of the HUD and in the inventory screen. In the controls options menu, change the UI side of the sensitivity options to give you more control. Your sensitivity should be the same as when you last played. Gameplay settings menu now has a cinematic HUD option available, as I previously discussed, so you can now turn off the HUD to allow you to have nothing but the game, but you can still access the inventory and the menus. Audio options menu now has the ability to select which microphone you want to use. New UI for when a tournament is high stakes. Stats menu updated with the new Warden AI type, also tweaked layout a bit. Added new Warden cosmetics. In crafting menu, if a weapon recipe does not use ammo, we no longer show NA for ammo type, example shield/grenade. The guide now contains the new mining frigate raid area. If you have the inbox open in the main menu, it will now nicely fade out when you get sent to a match. Tweaks to the in-game HUD to make it a bit cleaner, made the crosshair when in space stand out a bit more, which is great because sometimes in certain matches, if you get like just kind of like a grayed out map, it's very hard to see where you're actually firing. Tweaked the way we do the build ID to work with the upcoming move to more frequent updates. Animations, adjusted the animations for when you put attachments on weapons in the main menu workbench, updated animation for using a bandage, new animation for using morphine, new animation for using aspirin, new reload for the M1 Para extended mag, new reload animation for the SVT drum mag attachments, so that is awesome to have a drum mag on that thing. Tweaks to Bren walk animation, new animation for Bren drum mag reload, updated animation set for the Johnson to go along with its visual rework. Terminator shotgun now has a shorter equip animation. M45 now has a shorter equip animation. PPSH has a shorter equip animation. M1 Para has a shorter equip animation. Bren now has a shorter equip animation. The flamethrower equip animation decreased by 10% to make it faster. We're almost done here. Bear with me. Moving on to sound. New in-game ambient music in multiple places, example spaceport bar and gramophones. New sounds for when you remove attachments via the right click menu as opposed to doing it in the workbench. Weapon attachment sounds are now per attachments instead of per weapon attachment slot, so can now do things like Uzi woodstock and Uzi metal stock sounding different. Effort of voice when you land from a larger fall, when you swing a melee weapon, when you vault/mantle, when you vault/mantle while running. New sounds added for when you buy a ship from the hangar shop. Selling ships now has a unique sound per ship type. Added some subtle ambient background sound to the main menu. Updated sounds for the Johnson reload. Updated sound for the Johnson equip animation. New ambient sounds and background soundscape added to the prison raid. Scrap bomb has a fuse sound when you throw it before it explodes to help you identify its location. Updated French male voice set so it uses the same post effect that the other voice sets have. Optimizations, so they made some for the security cameras, for the fire traps, example in the Capital Frigate and Penal Colony, and optimized French male voice lines, which we just covered in the sound segment. And finally, but certainly not the least, fixes. So fixes for crashes, fixes for exploit, fixes for hit registration, fixes for collision. Fixed flashbangs not being able to pass through gratings, windows to trigger flash effect. The M16 iron sights are no longer misaligned when leaning. Fixed bug with weapon attachments being visible when you are using the pilot seat, when you are using the gunner seat, and when the camera stations of the ship. And that's pretty much all for the fixes. There are a few more here and there, but they're not really that notable. So that'll do it for today's patch notes. This was a long video, a big update with more coming in the near future because they now have the new update schedule, releasing smaller updates every other week or every 2 weeks or something like that, and then larger updates every 2 months. So, hope you enjoy your time with the new excavation update. Let me know what you prefer, what you're most looking forward to trying in said update. And yeah, maybe I'll see you all in the raids. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.